The Karaim language, Crimean dialect, Trakai dialect, karaj tili, Turkish dialect, karay dili, traditional Karaim name lashon kedar, Hebrew, language of the nomads, is a Turkic language with Hebrew influences, in a similar manner to Yiddish or Ladino. It is spoken by only a few dozen Karaims, also known as Qarays, in Lithuania, Poland, and Crimea and Galicia in Ukraine. The three main dialects are those of Crimea, Trakai-Vilnius and Lutsk-Halych, all of which are critically endangered. The Lithuanian dialect of Karaim is spoken mainly in the town of Trakai, also known as Troki, by a small community living there since the 14th century. There is a chance the language will survive in Trakai as a result of official support and because of its appeal to tourists coming to the Trakai Island Castle, while Karaim presented as the castle ancient defenders. Karaims in Crimea and Lithuania. The origin of the Karaims living in Crimea is subject to much dispute and inconsistency. Difficulty in reconstructing this history stems from the scarcity of documents pertaining to this population. Most of the known history is gathered from correspondence between the populations of Karaims and populations elsewhere in the 17th to 19th centuries, Kaiser 2003. Furthermore, a large number of documents pertaining to the Crimean population of Karaim were burned during the 1736 Russian invasion of the Tatar Khanate capital of Bakhkisaraj, Kaiser 2003. Some scholars say that Karayites in Crimea are descendants of Karaite merchants who migrated to Crimea from the Byzantine Empire, Schur 1995, presumably adopting a Turkic language upon their arrival in Crimea. In one particular incident, migration of Karayites from Istanbul to Crimea is documented following a fire in the Jewish quarter of Constantinople, modern Istanbul, in 1203, Safar 2006. Settlement of merchants in Crimea may have been encouraged in the 13th and 14th centuries by the active trade routes from Crimea to China and Central Asia, Schur 1995. On the other hand, there is a belief that the Karaims are descendants of Hazars, or later, Kipchak tribes who converted to Karaism, IICK 2007. The link to the Hazars, however, is regarded by the scholarly community as historically inaccurate and implausible. The third hypothesis says that Karayites are the descendants of Israelite tribes from the time of the first exile by an Assyrian king. Karaite Abraham Furkavich collected the documents arguing in favor of this theory before the Russian Tsar. He was of the opinion that Israelites from Assyria had gone into the North Caucasus and from there, with the permission of Assyrian king, into the Crimean peninsula. Whether Furkavich forged some of the tombstone inscriptions and manuscripts is controversial. Regarding origin of the Karayites in Lithuania also there is not full consensus between the scholars. According Lithuanian Karayites tradition, they are originated in Crimea when in 1392, the Grand Duke Vytautas of Lithuania defeated the Crimean Tatars and relocated 330 Karaims families to Lithuania, Schur 1995. Some modern historians doubts this assumption. 910 that also contradicts tradition of Lithuanian Tatars, claiming their origin from the Golden Horde. The Karayites settled primarily in Vilnius and Trakai, maintaining their Turkic language. There has been further minor settlement in Biray, Pasvalas, Najamiestas, and Upit. Despite a history through the 16th and 17th centuries that included disease, famine, and pogroms, Lithuania was somewhat less affected by such turmoil than surrounding areas. As a result, Lithuanian Karaim had a relative sense of stability over those years, and maintained their isolation as a group, keeping their Turkic language rather than abandoning it for the local languages. Karaim homepage 1998. Genetic affiliation of the Karaim language. Karaim is a member of the Turkic language family, a group of languages of Eurasia spoken by historically nomadic peoples. Within the Turkic family, Karaim is identified as a member of the Kipchak language group, in turn a member of the western branch of the Turkic language family, Dal etal 2001. Within the western branch, Karaim is a part of the Ponto-Caspian subfamily, Ethnologue 2007. This language subfamily also includes the Crimean Tatar of Ukraine and Uzbekistan, and Karachabakar and Kumyk of Russia. The close relation of Karaim to Kipchak and Crimean Tatar makes sense in light of the beginnings of the Lithuanian Karaim people in Crimea. One hypothesis is that Khazar nobility converted to Karaite Judaism in the late 8th or early 9th century and were followed by a portion of the general population. This may also have occurred later, under Mongol rule, during an influx of people from Byzantium, Tutanko et al. 1998. As all Turkic languages, Karaim grammar is characterized by agglutination and vowel harmony. Genetic evidence for the inclusion of the Karaim language in the Turkic language family is undisputed, based on common vocabulary and grammar. Karaim has a historically SOV word order, extensive suffixing agglutination, the presence of vowel harmony, and a lack of gender or noun classes. Lithuanian Karaim has maintained most of these Turkic features despite its history of more than 600 years in the environment of the Lithuanian, Russian, and Polish languages. Most of the religious terminology in the Karaim language is Arabic in etymology, showing the origins of the culture in the Middle East. Zyachkovsky 1961. A few religious terms are Hebrew as well. Arabic, Hebrew, and Persian had the earliest influences on the lexicon of Karaim, while later on in its history, the Russian, Ukrainian, and Polish languages made significant contributions to the Karaim lexicon of Karaite Jews living in Russia, Ukraine, Poland, and Lithuania. Language ecology. Distribution of Karaim speakers. Today, there are Karaims living in Turkey, Crimea, Lithuania, Poland, Israel, and the United States. However, there only remain about 200 Karaims in Lithuania, only 1/4 of whom are competent speakers of the Karaim language. Xato 2001. Karaim can be subdivided into 3 dialects. The now extinct Eastern dialect, known simply as Crimean Karaim, was spoken in Crimea until the early 1900s. The Northwestern dialect, also called Trakai, is spoken in Lithuania, mainly in the towns of Trakai and Vilnius. The Southwestern dialect, also known as the Lutsk-Halych dialect, spoken in Ukraine, was near extinct with only 6 speakers in a single town as of 2001, Xato 2001. Crimean Karaim is considered to make up the eastern group, while the Trakai and Lutsk dialects comprise the western group. Language contact. Throughout its long and complicated history, Karaim has experienced extensive language contact. A past rooted in Mesopotamia and persisting connections to the Arab world resulted in Arabic words which likely carried over via the migration of the Crimean and Lithuanian Karaim people from Mesopotamia. The Karaim language was spoken in Crimea during the rule of the Ottoman Empire, so there is also a significant history of contact with Turkish, a member of the same language family. Finally, since Karaim has always been a small minority language in the other areas to which it dispersed, Karaim coexisted with Lithuanian, Polish, Ukrainian, and Russian, which were all dominant majority languages in the areas where Karaim people lived and spoke their language. Karaim speakers show a strong tendency towards code copying. Xato 2001. Code copying differs from code switching in that speakers don't just switch from one language to another, but actually transfer lexical items and grammatical features from one language to another in processes that may be only for single instances, or that may have much more lasting effects on language typology. Xato 2001. Extensive code copying is indicative both of the ever-shrinking population of Karaim speakers, leading to an insufficient Karaim lexicon and a high frequency of borrowing from Russian, Polish, and Slavonic languages, and of the high level of language contact in the regions where Karaim is spoken. Multilingualism. Due to the very small number of speakers of Karaim and the high level of multilingualism in Lithuania in general, there is also a high level of multilingualism among Karaim speakers. Karaim speakers also communicate with the dominant languages of their respective regions, including Lithuanian, Polish, and Russian. Some also have religious knowledge of Hebrew. Xato 2001. Multilingualism is a necessity for Karaim speakers, because without other languages the majority would not even be able to communicate with members of their own family. Xato 2001. Language health. Most dialects of Karaim are now extinct. Maintenance of the Karaim language in Lithuania is now endangered due to the dispersal of Karaim speakers under the Soviet regime post-World War II and the very small number and old age of fluent speakers remaining. XITO 2001. Children and grandchildren of Karaim speakers speak Lithuanian, Polish, or Russian, and only the oldest generation still speaks Karaim. While most languages of the Turkic family exhibit palatal vowel harmony, Trakai Karaim shows harmony in palatalization of consonants. Thus, in any given word, only palatalized or only non-palatalized consonants can be found. Nemeth 2003. Palatalized consonants occur in the presence of front vowels, and non-palatalized consonants occur in the presence of back vowels. Similarly to most Turkic languages, virtually all of the consonants in Karaim exist in both a palatalized and a non-palatalized form, which may be further evidence of their genetic relationship. Hansen 2007. However, care must be taken in assuming as much, because Karaim has been in contact with Turkic languages in Lithuania for hundreds of years. Karaim also exhibits vowel harmony, whereby suffix vowels harmonize for front or back quality with the vowels in the stem of a word. Zyachkovsky 1961. Morphology. Karaim morphology is suffixing and highly agglutinating. The Karaim language lacks prefixes and uses postpositions. Nouns are inflected for 7 cases: nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative, locative, and instrumental, which is rare in other Turkic languages. A notable feature of verb conjugation in Karaim is the possibility of abbreviated forms, as shown below for the verb al, to take. Nemeth 2003. Long form short form 1.sglamy and lam 2.sglasin las3.sgladyr lady 1.pl labyz 2.pl lasyz 3.pl aldyr lar aldylar aldy lar. Syntax. Historically, Karaim had a typically Turkic SOV word order. However, it appears to have acquired somewhat free word order due to extensive language contact situations, and currently has a preference for SVO constructions. XITO 2001. Due to the agglutinative nature of Karaim morphology, pronominal subjects are frequently dropped as the same information is already represented in the inflection of the main verb. Karaim is head final and uses postpositions. Karaim syntax exhibits multiple instances of code copying, whereby Karaim merges with syntactic properties of other languages in its area due to strong language contact situations. XITO 2001. The impact of such language contact is also evident in the Karaim lexicon, which has extensive borrowing. Zyachkovsky 1961. In more modern times, the significant borrowing is also representative of insufficiencies in the lexicon. XITO 2001. Writing system. In Crimea and Ukraine, Karaim was written using Cyrillic script, while in Lithuania and Poland, a modified Latin alphabet is used. From the 17th century up until the 19th century, Hebrew letters were used.